All right. What is the statute of limitations regarding taxes? This is when the IRS can't come after you any further. Statute of limitations, it's a concept that exists all throughout our legal code. What's the statute of limitations on theft, on murder? Gotta love it. This exam is, absolutely grisly. I mean, we will deal with, death and divorce and all that good stuff. So why not bring that even further and talk about the concept of a statute of limitations in any sort of regard, right? So the statute of limitations generally for any sort of legal matter is what time period, after, let's say, 5 years, the government can't come after you because, well, it's not because you didn't commit the crime after that time. It's just, it would be a little ridiculous for some sort of authority to possibly come after you. After it's been 40 years, likely a lot of evidence has been destroyed at that point. It would be hard to frame someone at that point. I'm not going to get into the legal behind the reason for the statute of limitations, but that's my general take. I mean, on our statute of limitations here. But this is specifically regarding taxes, because if you didn't know, we are taking the tax exam. The statute of limitations, it's a legal concept that sets a time limit for the government to audit or assess additional taxes on a taxpayer's return. The time limit depends on the specific circumstances surrounding the tax return. Yeah, would it be a little ridiculous for the IRS to come in 15 years later and say, we're auditing your tax return from 15 years ago? That would be ridiculous. I mean, are you expected to remember everything that happened, keep the records from all that time ago? I think that's ridiculous, and so too we see here. Now, the normal statute of limitations, generally, it's 3 years. So generally, the IRS has 3 years from the later of the following two dates to audit a tax return and assess additional taxes. So it's the later of the date the tax return was actually filed or the tax return's original due date. Obviously, that's in favor of the IRS, giving them a little bit more time, choosing the later of those two dates. So generally speaking, yes, it's 3 years. But we've got a few other points to go through. We've got the extended statute of limitations. Now, if a taxpayer underreports gross income by 25% or more, the statute of limitations is extended to 6 years. So this gives the IRS a little bit more time if you've committed kind of a greater violation, right? Understating income even more. This longer period allows the IRS more time to detect and address significant underreporting of income. And then we've got the indefinite statute of limitations. Now, when it comes to fraud, where the taxpayer has intentionally and willfully submitted a false tax return to evade taxes. Oh, how could you do that? That is awful. I cannot believe someone would do that. The statute of limitations does not apply. In this case, if there's fraud, the IRS has unlimited time to audit and assess additional taxes in such situations. They can always come after you. Think about that good old Al Capone story. They didn't get him on anything that he did illegally except his taxes. Now, it's important to note that the statute of limitations applies to the time frame within which the IRS can audit and assess additional taxes. Taxpayers are still required, gotta love it, more requirements on us as the taxpayer. We're still required to maintain accurate records and documentation for their tax returns to support their claims in the event of an audit. The statute of limitations does not relieve taxpayers of their obligation to report income and deductions correctly on their tax returns, right? You can't say, oh yeah, the odds of me getting audited in a 5-year period are incredibly small, so I'm not going to keep my records. I'm not going to report my income properly. That is called fraud. That's called breaking the rules. That's called a lot of things. All right, moving along.
Hey there. Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material. We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.